Thank you, Angel, and hi-ho, everyone. Welcome aboard for Thursday's edition of Trading Buddies. Thank you for being exactly that, my trading buddy. And there are a couple of people in the room at the moment. Of course, we'll be joined by Ash in the not-too-distant future. He's getting the late mail on the FTSE. And, of course, it being Thursday, it is quiz day. Before we go into that, of course, let me go through a few things, and we'll start with the good news. You don't want the bad news first, right? You want the good news first. Okay, the good news is that what did we do? Monday, I think it was Monday, we traded a breakout on pound US dollar and got to TP1. There it is there. Just got to TP1, I think. Yeah. Which, of course, means we move our stops to entry. And once that happens, we leave it go till it gets to 2.5 times our risk, which was up here. Obviously, that didn't get hit. And price came back, took out our stop loss. But we also placed an order yesterday. And if you're not in the Telegram group, you wouldn't know this. But we placed an order yesterday as well. There is the entry there. We are already past TP1, which was 92 pips, can't remember exactly where, somewhere in here. And we are now searching for our target area, which is 230 pips, which happens to be where? 230 from there is around about the 132.89 mark. So that's what we're searching for, 132.89 as our take-all profit. Early indications just before the open are pretty reasonable, one would think. Not sure I would like to be going short here at the moment. Certainly there's no thought of the breakout trade today, given the size of the move yesterday. I would be expecting some consolidation, if not follow through. Don't know that we'll get a resumption of the bull trend that was happening before, because the US dollar does look to be red hot at the moment, and I wouldn't be calling anything against that right now, including pound. So I'm thinking this could easily get to target, frankly, but certainly no breakout trade today. That's official. Now, the bad news. The bad news is, well, it's actually twofold. I've got a bit of egg on my face. The real bad news is, where's my, I seem to have lost everything here. Oh, there we go. That's why. The real bad news is that the dollar Swissy trade that we took got hammered. We entered the market where? Here. And we didn't get our TP1, which was at the bottom of that bar there. Didn't even get to the trade line, which is where I suggested that you be very, very cautious and maybe take some profit. Didn't even get there. And then the turnaround yesterday, really didn't. It's not unexpected that the dollar rallied. The timing, I thought, was a little bit askew, because I had a little bit more on the downside. And I'll explain that thought process by going to, if I can find the bloody thing, where's it gone? There it is. The dollar index. Now, the dollar index was well on its way back into this range, and I was heading for the bottom again. But then it just went kaboom. And as I said in my preview this morning, once that happens and it's cleared just about everything here in terms of resistance for some time, I would expect that we're going to see some dollar strength for a little bit just yet. Head and shoulders there probably, or certainly a double bottom and a higher low. It does look to be on fire, and look, it's not beyond the 99. And if it gets to 99, it'll probably look to go to 1-to-1 again. We shall see. I'm not a fan of the dollar, as you know, but I do recognize that this is really, really now showing a lot of strength. So dollar Swissy was smashed. Now, I've also put an order on pound yen, which was this one. trading, and I've got no idea why I traded long against the yen. It was only meant to be a short termer up to here and then go short based on what we discussed on Monday with the COT data that Ash was talking about, the strength of the yen. The yen was, all the yen pairs were at resistance. It did look like there was going to be some form of retracement at least, if not reversal, and that's exactly what we have seen. Sadly, for some, you would have been taken into that and out. Not myself. I expired the order before I went to bed and woke up to see that and was thinking, you poor things, if you got into that, you would have been hammered on that one as well. Now, I did say in the preview yesterday that I also caught euro dollar. Now, euro dollar was a smashing trade. Really, really nice trade. The setup was absolutely glorious, and I am just so fortunate that I did a preview yesterday. Otherwise, I wouldn't have seen this. And what I saw was a dominator, followed by a retest of that broken trade line on the support side after a double top, after a head and shoulders, if you wish. That was a 10 pip risk if you wanted to take that candle, and it has gone so far 115, so that's more than a 10 bagger. I didn't do that. I placed my order here and I put my stop loss where I thought it was most appropriate, which was above the monthly pivot and the daily pivot yesterday. Thought that was a far safer way to go. It was only 20 pips of risk, and so far that's a 5+ bagger. So the problem with that is for you guys, unless you're in the Telegram group, and even then, the trade had triggered by the time I got to show you that trade. I think it was just around about here when I did my preview. What I should have done, and I apologize for not doing it, is as soon as I placed the order, I should have put it in the Telegram group. It was only like 5 minutes away from my recording, which is why I thought I would wait whilst I was doing the recording. Came back, it had already gone. I hope you got in when it retested the trade line. If you didn't, when it retested the weekly pivot, and there's the strength of the US dollar. Bang, big smasher. So I'm in a relatively comfortable position, I must say, but I've got a funny feeling that some of you will not be because of missing that one and potentially getting the other two. If that's the case, my sincere apologies. I must rectify that situation by putting the trades into the Telegram group as soon as I see them, rather than waiting 5 minutes. 5 minutes sometimes is a long time, in particular when you're only talking 5 and 10 pip candles. So that's the weight off my shoulders. I will have a long drink for you if you've suffered at my hands over the last day or so. When the show finishes, I can promise you. I'm guessing that won't help too much if you've lost some dough. So we've got the pound going well. We've got the euro going well. Everything else is pretty much. Euro CAD is still going, of course. That's well and truly past the 1,000 pip mark. Everything else is on hold until I get a little bit of a pullback. There are 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 pairs that I'm looking at, but we may not even get to them. I want to bring Ash in. G'day, buddy.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Oh, mate, I'm really disappointed that I didn't get these guys into this trade quickly enough, and I got them into 2 others that weren't so good. So I'm a little bit down because of that, but there's not much I can do.
No. And you know, all of the trades that are posted are, you know, advisory to kind of, you know, go and do some research on anyway. So you know, I mean, I know we're sort of giving our opinion, but ultimately this is why we put stop losses in place and do all that kind of due diligence on protecting the account, because we can misjudge things. As I have quite recently with the FTSE trade, which I'm still trying to manage. So you know, it's just one of those things that happens.
You're still working hard again.
Oh man, do you know what? I mean, it was looking absolutely dire about a week ago, but yesterday, you know, and it only takes a day. You know, yesterday things kind of worked out quite well when we had that that CPI spike in the US. It did help things out a little. So it's getting there, chipping away, mate, and that's all I'm happy to do. Really, I'm not going to kind of trying to hit the ball out of the park. I'm just trying to chip away and get back to where I was, which is getting there, as I say.
Well, all about timing, isn't it? Yesterday, I just because I do the pre-London preview, I was just in front of the charts at the right time to catch this one. Otherwise, I wouldn't see that.
Yeah.
And it's turned into, as I say, so far, pretty damn good trade. We'll see how it pans out. But it's covered my losses.
That's brilliant.
And I've got my loss where the losses are covered. So that's break even for the week there. Yeah. Anything else is a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, really good, mate. Really good.
Still leaves a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth that the other guys may not be in that trade. And that's what hurts a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I understand that. To Paul, Lewis, and John, hello to you guys. Let's have a look at some of these other markets. I mean, one trade that is going particularly well for me, and I did sort of discuss on the show not too long ago, was silver. So let's have a quick look at that. Let's bring this forward a little bit. Let's get it away from the heat. And I will deal with the others as we go. It's not fully gone and going yet, but it is on its way. So let's just have a quick look at that and why I think there's more upside in silver as well. I think to get into it, I mean, I appreciate what John's saying about silver. That it is volatile, and you've got to make sure that that you don't probably risk too much. And I've been fortunate really because it went within a very short period of when I got in, and now I've got stops at break even. So silver looks like it's on its way. You know, we talked about this inverted head and shoulders weeks ago. You know, we were looking at this a long time ago, and it played out quite beautifully in some respects. You know, I'm not sure with the bars. Let me just count them and let's see what it is. So to the middle, it's about 38. To where we are now, it's about 30. So it would suggest that there might be some further volatility. So it's possible that this can still get stopped out. And really the stop should be down here, but I'm not willing to lose any money on this, because if it does come and stop me out, then actually what I'll look for is another clean entry, possibly along there. And I could do with really a few more days of it staying above this level, because then the trend line should hold it, if nothing else. And if we could get through here, that'd be fantastic. The bond market is on a holiday today, so in the US, so it might be a pretty tepid market really for most of the day. We might not get too much out of it.
It's Veterans Day over there, of course.
That's
Remembrance Day here in Australia, and to anybody who's still here after World War One, and I'm pretty sure that's not the case, but that was the celebration, of course, of the end of World War One. And I did stop and have my minute silence at 11 o'clock this morning
well done, mate.
The middle of the main street of Hobart.
Well done, yeah, and you know, it's one of those days that it should be off really, but it will make the market quiet. It will make it quite low in volume, which may push things around a bit. But I think we're still looking for the overall picture here, which I think is upside silver, potentially upside gold as well. I'm going to take some of these levels off because the FTSE is looking like some tapestry at the minute. I still think the FTSE's got some room to go, but not much. And I come back to this trend line here from above. And if we tighten it right up, just to make sure on the daily chart we're seeing the right numbers hit, that's pretty good. Let's just have a look at the start of it. Just there we go. Okay, so that leads us to really where we are. I don't think there's much left in the FTSE. I think we are pretty much done with the run on the FTSE. It may have a little bit longer to go, but let's just have a look at some of these horizontal levels and see if we can ascertain if there's somewhere else, something else that might give us something. I doubt there's going to be a fib, but let's just double check it. No, we're through that level there. And the FTSE's an interesting one because we saw the US market really plummet yesterday, but the FTSE 100 managed to hold on pretty impressively. All things considered, pretty sloppy levels there actually. So I don't think we're going to get too much out of the fact that that we're at this price. Maybe here, yeah, I don't love it, and it might make it difficult to pick the upside here. I wonder whether difficult. I don't know, but I wouldn't want to initiate any more longs at this particular stage on the FTSE, and I actually think that that the short is probably going to be coming in relatively soon. Nasdaq, as I say, when we looked yesterday, S&P, completely different picture. May well have broken through the level now, which could drive us back down to this horizontal level of support. It has tested it once actually, but I wonder whether it might need to come back down one more time, particularly because of when you look at the weekly bars, it would suggest that that a retracement down to around about 45.50 is on. And same with the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq could do with coming down to this level as well. Not too far away, but a big drop in the Nasdaq. It really did suffer. And this is indicative of these overbought markets that are not only overbought, but they're just embedded. They've got so ahead of themselves. Any small point of contention can drive them down pretty fast. Because if you look at yesterday's range, then we're looking at a 2% drop in the Nasdaq, and that's a pretty big bar when you consider where we've been. Probably since this point here, yesterday's bar was pretty big. And it does show that there is some nervousness up here, but those CPI numbers were just astonishing, really. When we kind of bring those in, the CPI numbers, highest CPI since highest jump in CPI since 1990, and that inevitably is driving up some of the short-term bond yields, and with those,
it certainly shook the market up. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah, amazing, and obviously, we saw the dollar strength off the back of it, and mainly because of the bond yield differentiation, the differences between the disparity, I suppose you could say, between the bond yields in the States and other nations. And look at this 1.57. Now, we were talking about this bond chart not that long ago, and looking at the in fact, it might have even been on Monday, but looking at it, we were looking at the head and shoulders pattern that we saw. Let me just bring this onto bars. We were looking at this head and shoulders pattern and looking at this neckline, and probably assuming that this had a pretty good chance of bouncing there. Now, until it clears this high here at 161, it's still in a downtrend. I'd still treat this like it's downtrending, like it's going in the opposite direction. But sometimes, you've got news which trumps all other. And when you get CPI data, which is the highest jump since 1990, you have to sit up and listen to this bond yield and think, okay, is it going to come back down again? What could drive it down again? Now, of course, there is the holiday today, but if we're going to get some, and it's possible that we just hit a range. The other thing that can happen is this head and shoulders pattern just stops becoming a head and shoulders pattern, because it comes down and then up and down and up, and just does some other bits and pieces of price action that negate this inverted, sort of negate the head and shoulders as it goes. That may well already be happening. It could be that we see this here as a as a left shoulder instead. This becomes a left shoulder and this becomes the head, meaning it could come back down and create some sort of right shoulder over here. So what that's going to end up looking like is having a neckline along here, it fluctuating here for a while and then start to take off to the upside. That could happen. You know, obviously patterns within patterns happen, but with, as I say, with that inflation data coming out, you wouldn't really expect the bond yield now to start to go in the opposite direction, which drives the dollar higher. And again, interestingly, you know, even with this high dollar, what's quite comforting in many respects is high dollar, but also gold pushing to the upside and silver pushing to the upside. So that makes the case quite nicely for gold and silver. You look at the VIX, and the VIX has potentially jumped through a level here. Maybe not there, actually. It could have done. I don't know. Maybe it hasn't. You know, it was only just a little close above. I mean, we'd have to bring in. Look at these pivots here, right on top of the monthly pivot. This is the level I was looking at on the shorter term timeframes, and you can see that looks like a holding level as well. So with the VIX possibly through, but getting resistance at the monthly chart, the monthly level, it suggests that we could be in a little bit of a range here before we get some more data. And let's have a look what that data could be. Now, obviously this week, we've still got the consumer price data, and that could really affect the market if the consumer information here on Friday is actually, if the consumer information here, University of Michigan consumer sentiment, if this starts to diminish, then you start to have this kind of perfect storm, diminishing consumer sentiment, higher inflation. Now, what does that make? That effectively says we are not comfortable spending. If we're not comfortable spending, business don't get paid. If business don't get paid, the earnings don't improve. And if earnings don't improve, investors don't get paid as much as they were before. So they could then start looking in other areas. So the consumer sentiment index is going to be important tomorrow. The chart suggests that it could be a bit earlier number, start to move things in the opposite direction. But I think it will spook the market, and we may well sell into that number, and that's really what we're trying to do next. Guess what the next move's going to be with the stock market? You know, where's it going to go from here? And it appears that it should come down. What I'm looking at, particularly with the Nasdaq, because I think the Nasdaq's going to get the most heavily affected. What I'm looking at with the Nasdaq is two trend lines, or are two trend lines. I'm looking at this one up here as a resistance point, and I like that one the most because it's the highest point and it's got a decent level here. But there's a one that is a little bit lower, and I think initially this one will probably hold. So intraday, is in today, I would quite like to sell the Nasdaq somewhere around about 16,160, I guess, somewhere around about this pivot, somewhere around about this trend line. If it breaks through there, that level would be the last possible hold. So you could be looking at that as a stop point. Quite a large difference between the two. But if you get back to the lows, then you're going to make more than a 1-to-1. And if it goes beyond that, which ultimately we are looking here, so it looks like it should go a little bit beyond that. And then when we bring those numbers in, then we're probably looking at something that looks more like almost a 2-to-1, if you can get a decent price along here. Yes, you could put a stop up here. I mean, another way to play it is put a stop relatively tight here, and if it goes through, enter the trade again and put a stop relatively tight up here. And then you're not worrying about this whole gap, losing out. So rather than putting the whole position on here, half the position on here with a stop there, if it goes through, the other half on here with a stop maybe at this high here, would be a potential way to play it, because the Nasdaq it doesn't necessarily look like it's going into bear mode by any stretch, but because it's been so overbought, it would suggest that few things would knock it back down again. And I wonder if one of those few things could be consumer sentiment index. It might be the anticipation of the consumer sentiment number. It could be something more, substantial than that. But all these numbers now, all these kind of sentiment numbers are going to be watched very, very closely. Doesn't look like there's too much next week early on, but let's see when things start to pick up. Retail sales, this is also going to give us a view of the consumer, and these numbers, if they start to come in weak, I think that we've got that CPI number incredibly, with an incredibly worrying print. Then you wouldn't want these numbers to start easing off at all. I mean, it might be that they spike to the upside and the market actually views it that the Fed are going to move earlier, and that also drives the market down. So I think we're in that zone now that good news could be bad for the index, and bad news could be bad for the index. But you'd want to get the right price. But those CPI numbers were so extreme that usually would cause some kind of jolt. And yesterday, to me, isn't enough of a jolt. I think we've laid our marker in the sand, and we've said, watch out, be careful, because it may be about to start.
Okay, I'll open the microphone. Hard to say that the dollar's not going to go from here, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
totally agree.
Yeah, and we kind of said this, either was last Thursday or Monday, that the next move on this dollar was going to be up, but it went too early for me, to be honest. I wanted that range to last maybe just another day or so, but it doesn't listen to me. It just does what it wants to bloody do.
Yeah.
I mean, I was fortunate enough to be in front of the chart at the right time yesterday to get the euro, but that's about all I did get. But and that could be a smashing trade. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, yeah. Well, John managed to get in the Nasdaq short last night and took profit. Well done for that, mate. That's brilliant. And the Nasdaq's a bit like silver, isn't it? It's just it's very very quick, very fast moving, and you can make your money fast on that one. So it's a good one when it's going well. That's for sure.
But Lewis, I didn't notice a big bulge in your pants last time I saw you. You must have massive kahunas, mate. I didn't say it before you went on the cruise, but Jesus, cruise boat. I wouldn't jump on a cruise boat for love nor money at the moment.
No, I'm off to Spain later today. I've got to go and fly. I've had to jump through hoops just to kind of get on the plane. It's an absolute ache. But yeah, I'm not really relishing that, but I haven't really got a choice. I've got to go.
I'm sure it was lovely, and I'm just very, very nervous about. No, I won't go into it, but it's got a lot to do with the waste factor. I'll put it that way.
You don't like that?
No. Well, no, with that rampant disease running around the place.
Yeah.
I know everyone's vaccinated, but I don't know. Call me cautious. You know what I'm like. I'm a conservative dude.
Yeah. I'm just looking at these numbers here on the dollar, and 95, maybe 96, but as it's a round number, might well be the next target on this. So about another dollar higher for the dollar index, from 95 to 96. I think that's achievable before potentially rolling over.
Where's the measured move from that range?
From where we are now.
The monthly range that's just been broken.
Oh, this one here coming down. Oh, that is the measured move. It's around about 95.70.
Okay.
On the inverted head and shoulders. From this here, that's conservative, but it's probably going to be around about. So that looks to me like the measured move. We've broken out here, so that leads us near enough 96, mate. It's very, very close enough. Close enough to drive us up there. But yeah, I mean, as I say, it's quite interesting that the dynamic going on, because you got the US indices now starting to come off, FTSE 100 starting to move to the upside. Haven't looked at the DAX, but yeah, the DAX is also in pretty decent territory here as well. Didn't really suffer too much, and it might be that there's just a little bit of rotation outside of the US and into some of these European countries and companies, and into the UK as well. So there's Yeah, there's a lot really to consider. Somebody was asking, was it Paul? Paul, why is gold being so bullish despite dollar strength? It's a really interesting thing, isn't it, with gold? Because as I said on Monday, or maybe last week, if you look at the gold chart alongside when the Fed tend to taper, when they start to taper, gold tends to do really well in that environment. And I wondered whether that was the trigger. So far, it looks like it is. But it's difficult to know. But this is the thing: the dollar is strengthening, but it's just going to show that gold is even stronger than the dollar. And
is Ainsley in? Ainsley, are you in? Ainsley's coming in today.
She is coming in, yeah. It'd be interesting to get Ainsley's take on it. I mean, Ainsley will probably say as well that we are looking at a gold rally potentially seasonally coming in this month anyway. Towards the back end of the month, we start to see a seasonal bullish long with gold. So it looks like that's prepping and getting ready to go. So it may well have started. We may see some fluctuations before that really kicks in. I don't know. But I'm in silver and I'm holding. I'm not getting rid of that one, because that for me, as I said on Monday, I think with silver you're better off trading it longer term. I don't think trading silver over the short term is for the faint-hearted. I think that there are, when you mention to people that you trade on 5-minute charts and 1-minute charts and things like that, they think you're crazy because you've got all this kind of stuff going really, really fast. But actually, it's all relative, because the FTSE actually
meant to say that to you at some stage, mate. But I've held it back all these years. So.
Well, but the thing is, the FTSE's 5-minute chart is relative to silver's hourly chart, for example. The way that it moves, that the pace of it is a lot slower than something like that, and it's the same. I wouldn't trade the Nasdaq over a 5-minute period either, because it moves so quickly. But the FTSE is actually quite a nice, gentle market on the shorter term time frames. If you compare it to a range of others, it's nothing like silver. It's nothing like the Nasdaq. It's the S&P is another one, nice and gentle the way that one moves. So actually, yes, you are talking about timeframes, but they're not necessarily in relation to what other people are looking at when they're looking at these fast timeframes. They might be thinking you trade 5-minute timeframes, and they might be looking at a silver chart and thinking, that is just, how do you get any kind of information from there? The FTSE is not really like that. The FTSE really does respect those short-term timeframe levels much better than something like silver and as I say, the Nasdaq, which can be all over the place. So I wouldn't trade silver like that. But I think silver on a longer term basis, if you look at it more on the weekly, daily chart, then you've got trades on silver that you can take. Yes, you still want to get your triggers from the 4-hourly and maybe the hourly, but ultimately, which is all I did. I got my trigger from the 4-hourly and 1-hourly, but ultimately I was looking at the weekly. And the reason, I was looking at the weekly is the discussion that we had many weeks ago about this.
Mm-hmm.
So that looked good to me. And it really was exactly where I picked it, where I want to pick up an inverted head and shoulders. When I saw this, I want to pick the inverted head and shoulders up on the shoulder. I don't want to pick it up on the neckline. I want to pick it up on the shoulder. And you get this bar.
That bar is perfect, as we said.
Yes. Yes.
On Monday. Wow.
Exactly. So you come down here, and the way that I want to pick it up on the shoulder is in confluence with a break of trend line. I don't want to just pick up the right shoulder. I want to get a break of trend line. And you see this, and it's probably even tighter there. And then you say, okay, we've got this is the perfect setup for an inverted head and shoulders. You've got the left shoulder, you've got the right shoulder. Can you pick it up on the right shoulder? Yeah, as long as you get a break off this, a bounce off this trend line. And not only did we get a bounce, but we got a really good bar. It was a lovely bar. False dawn was a little bit of a problem the next day, but it wasn't a major one. And then at this point, that's when I start going down time frames, and I say, okay, there's another inverted head and shoulders here on the 4-hourly. Can we pick it up? And yes, we can, and off we go. So in fact, this is the the weekly bar, this one here. This is sorry, not the weekly. This is the daily bar here. So we go down to touch the 4 hour, and this is that daily bar, and then it comes into the inverted head and shoulders, and you get this another hold, and that's when I could go long on that one. So I think the stops are tight, to be honest, mate. I anticipate getting taken out of this, if I'm honest, but I don't really mind. I've got a freebie on that one, and it just means that I can hold it long term and see where it goes, because I'd quite like to get it up to around about the 36 level. We're at 24 now, and I'd quite like, I'm being quite ambitious with this one, because I'd like to see it around about here. 35, 36. So between 34 and 36, actually, somewhere at about there. That's where I'd like to see the silver, because I see this is a pretty strong line, and I don't think there's going to be too much more out of it than that. But you know, you look on this, as I say, on a monthly chart, and it just looks a lot more palatable. You know, when you start to zoom out, it looks like we're creating this, and that looks like the resistance. If it goes through there, who knows what goes on? You know, we could get double the price in silver, and it's going to take a while. But if I'm still in, I'm going to be moving those stops very, very gently behind the price from here on in,
and probably pretty happy.
Sorry, mate, I missed that. I think my
question.
I said
Ainsley's in. We'll go to Ainsley
great.
in just a tick. But before we do that, to answer your question, Lewis, or your observation, here's my take on that. You're done with that, Ash?
I'm done with that. Yeah.
All right. My take on that is I agree with you 100%, but I've got a reason to think there's further to go. Now, I'm not sure where that is, frankly, but I've got two targets in mind. One is the bottom of this channel. Whenever that happens, this is Aussie dollar, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
One is the bottom of that channel. I just can't quite bring a decent confluence in there. I suppose there's one there where you've got a little bit of form over here as resistance. It's a bit messy through here, to be honest, but I'd certainly be looking for longs at that point, I do believe, which is around about, 72.5. I think that makes sense to me. So where is it now? Not that far away, 40 odd pips away from there. So I'm totally on board with what you're saying. I think there is room for that to happen, but the second point you make is also perfectly valid. How can you say right now that this dollar is going to slow down? It's just broken out big time. That's a monthly chart I'm looking at, right? Weekly chart is even better. And daily chart is probably going to show you exactly the same thing. But this could, you know, if symmetry means anything, this goes through here. It doesn't stop till there, pulls back to there, maybe, and then goes again to there. So I'm talking 100. That's how that looks to me, frankly. And I hate to say that, because I think the US dollar just doesn't deserve its esteem, if I can put it that way. But the chart's telling me that, so I've got to go with it. I hope that's the case, because I'll stay in euro dollar and pound US dollar whilst ever that's on offer. So happy to do that. Speaking of US dollar, and we were talking about the monthly chart just a bit earlier. I don't know if you guys remember this, but we said at the time, probably the best thing to do here would be to place an order short here, stop loss here. That now doesn't look as silly as it did at that time, does it? You can never say never. These charts just do what they do, what they do, what they do. And it took, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months to get to that point. But now it's got legs. And I see the next level at around about, 138, 113.80. So another 80 odd pips. That's before I'll take my second profit on this trade anyway. So that's where I am there. Very, very quickly, look, I haven't got anything special, to be honest. The euro pairs just look to be in trouble. Euro Swissy, Euro Kiwi in particular, Euro Yen still We spoke about the yen early on Monday, saying it's its turn, and it's certainly turning out that way. Pound against the yen as well. The pound against just about anything. The euro against just about anything, and the dollar long just about against anything as well. Buy the dips on that, I reckon. Now it's got legs. Buy the dips on the dollar. Sell the rallies on the euro. Sell the rallies on the pound. That's kind of my attitude. Hello, eh?
Oh, hello.
Well, how the devil are you?
How are we on this little golden little push-up day
Oh.
after?
Great, isn't it?
Impatient enough. You got to say, I've been waiting for this for a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It's looking good now, isn't it? It's
15th of June. Hi, Lois. Yeah, 15th of June was the last time we actually had a close. We had gold up around this neck of the woods, by the way. 15th of June. It is November. Santa is nearly here, by the way. I have done lockdown. I've done homeschooling. I'm going ratty. But
Doesn't sound it.
Man, November 27th. Christmas has come a little bit early. Yeah, I mean, for God's sake, it's been, trust me, it's been a long 6 months, this lot.
Yes,
yeah, so
6 months. Is that all? It seems like you've been talking about being shut up and homeschooling for a year. Feels like 10, I suppose.
That's because with homeschooling, it's not just 8 hours of homeschooling, it is 24 hours of homeschooling.
Yeah, you can't kick them out and say, go to the park and play, can you?
No, I mean, you discipline your kids and you say, go to your room. They've been in it for 8 hours. You can't send them to their room. You just can't do it. Look, we're out the other side. They're at school during the day. It's an adjustment back, and just thank goodness. I mean, we live in a country where the 12 to 15-year-olds can get vaccinated, and they seem to be doing pretty well. So we're lucky. We're lucky.
You could tell them that they need a booster and fill a little syringe up with, I don't know, Valium or something.
I wish, but between 12 and 15, they're actually going on 22 and 24, which means
I bet them.
Nothing gets past them.
Mm-hmm. They're wicket keepers, right?
Oh, look, the eldest one
call them Alan Knox.
She's driving next year.
She's been driving for 6 months. You mad, right?
Driving me up the wall, driving me around the twist. But yeah, we're talking about the legal things on the car. But coming back to gold, have a little bit gold, because I've been very excited about gold because I've been waiting very patiently. As you know, going not only stark raving mad with homeschooling and locked up in the townhouse. And whilst, Jeff, it's a really good sized townhouse. You know that, you've been here.
It's a lovely townhouse. Yes.
But how small can it get in lockdown is unbelievable.
Yeah, the walls kind of shrink, don't they?
They shrunk. All closed in. But to be quite honest, yeah, we've finally got that solid break. The inflation news, and let's chat about the US dollar and where you think that's going to go and what it's doing. I mean, it had this massive rally last night on the.
Do you want to use my charts or?
Yeah, you can pull your charts up. So US dollar, look at it and go down to a 4 hourly, so it's more dramatic. I like drama.
Holy
there we
what's
go.
That?
Yes, it's a drama. It's a drama. We like drama, but what I'm trying to do is make the point of have a look at that, right? Don't move that.
Work out what this green shit is.
Yeah, leave that. Now flick straight across. That's the US dollar. Can you flick straight across to gold, please?
Yes, I think so. There you go.
Right. That's gold against the US dollar. Both of them went flying up. What the struggle was between who was moving the fastest and the quickest at the time. So both went up, which is just extraordinary. So normally if gold, if the US dollar goes up, then gold comes down. We've got both of them going up at the same time. So there was a struggle, I've got to say, there was a struggle, but is it inflation? 10-bond yield rate, the Treasury bond yield rate, real yield rates dropped. Inflation went up. It's the highest it's been in 30 years. I sent Jules a text this morning. I said, so you still think inflation's transitory? I said, I think it's here to stay for a little bit longer than, the transit lounge at the airport. Although the transit lounge at the airport, this takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it, at the moment? Because the transit lounge has been a transit lounge for at least 2 years. So, moving it along, let's not go with that argument. The inflation argument, the bond yields, everything just came to this bubbling head last night, and kaboom, it was a wild ride. So gold's back on the move up, and yeah, maybe Santa Claus, Lewis, you might be right. Santa Claus has come through a little bit earlier. I don't care. Look, read the charts, go with it, go hard. I was working, and
you've actually touched on it already, Ainsley, because there was a question earlier on why is gold rallying at the same time as the US dollar, but also David's saying he's missed the boat. No such thing, is there?
No such thing with gold, because gold loves levels. So what it does is gold will hit a level, it'll go flying, but it will come back and retest a level. So don't ever sneeze at a retest. Where if you see a little bit of a pullback, it might be a shallow pullback, but don't sneeze when it gets to a level and you think, oh, it's just going to, it's not crypto, right? It's not going to the moon. It comes back at retest levels. That's what it does. That's why I said, and I've been saying for 6 months, I'm waiting for it to close very predominantly over 1832. Got to 1832, and on your 4-hourly chart, you'll notice that that's where it had the pullback before the news came out last night. It got to 1831.96 or something stupid like that. And it just likes levels. So it's quite predictable in that regard, that you can sort of pick where it needs to come back to before it takes off again. Yes. So going back to that question about why did they both rally together? It was a matter of what was deemed more important in the market at the time. So if you look at between, I'm not going to put it back into Singapore time because I was still blinking this morning. I was really, really tired. So the midnight bar and the 4 a.m. bar, the gold was flying. And I checked on it. I just went, oh, should I close that? And then I woke up this morning and just thought, yeah, I probably should have closed that. But I'm in it for the long game, so I'm just going to have to build on that position. But what we've got is different things, different fundamentals that came out at very, very close, in close succession, like the inflation rate and the yield rate and the infrastructure package. And we just had a lot of fundamentals hitting the market at the same time. Market did not know which way to go except for up. Inflation, gold up. Bond yields down, gold up. US dollar was just going, oh, hello, I'm just going to go off for the ride. So everything went up. It was just a matter of what was stronger at the time and what people deemed, or traders deemed, to be more relevant at that point in time. So there was a big push up, but then it came back down on gold about 5 a.m. Sydney time. So, everybody in Singapore was right across it, right, at 2 a.m. this morning. But yeah, we've just taken a bit of a breather, had a bit of a retest, and back and off we go again. But that is what has happened. We knew that we had to wait for a good push back through 1832. 1832 has just been a nightmare for months and months and months. We've got it. Is it coming in through early with the seasonals? Don't know for sure. Am I going to have a retest? Don't know. If you're in, look for the next pullback, put the next retracement, a retest of a level, go in and put your stop in tight if you're not sure. So, yeah, I mean, we are, actually, you were talking about third week of November, which is, that ties in with when gold wants to take off normally and seasonally. However, be flexible. Isn't that right? So you're looking at third week of November for US dollar to take off, and then it comes back. US dollar to turn to come back down. We've had a good push up. Will it come back down again? Will it come down early? Don't know.
Yeah,
I can promise you it'll come back down. When? I've got no idea.
It's interesting, is it? I mean, the dynamic is very interesting right now. I mean, because actually bond yields have gone up. I mean, this is the thing. But the bond yields is at 157 from 149 or whatever, the 10-year, and even the short end, which is why we saw that dollar spike. What I think is interesting is that gold is outstripping it.
Sorry, can I just qualify you there? As you're talking about the yields going up, I'm talking about real yields. So you whack your inflation. You take your inflation off those prices, those rates, and that brings you down to negative. All right. That's what moves, because just so that we make a really clear distinction and the traders understand that when you're talking about the yields go up and gold should come down, what has happened is the CPI, inflation's gone up, and because that's a larger number, you take real yields into account, and that's what moves gold. Is negative. It has come down because the CPI was so high. So just to make that distinction so people understand the difference, and that's where a lot of confusion comes from. But what do you mean that's gone up? It shouldn't.
Yeah, do you know what? I think that is a really poignant point, actually, because you want to make the calculation between the CPI and the yield, and the yield actually, you're right, because if you look at the way they both moved, yes, the yield moved up, but not at anywhere near the same velocity as the inflation. I mean, that inflation number was astonishing, wasn't it? Eh? It's absolutely crazy, and
hang on, Ash, what a surprise.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those, isn't it? We've been waiting for this huge kind of this huge month where it just makes that massive jump. But I think because of the market was in that kind of like that calming area, wasn't it? Everybody was sort of really bullish. Jules is not the only person that I mean, the Fed are talking about this whole thing being transitory, and I think
come on.
Do you know the interesting thing about But the interesting thing about the transitory argument is that transitory could, the transitory people that make that argument could see inflation come down in 3 years' time and go, see? So, which it will, of course. I mean, it is transitory. It's got to be transitory, but it depends on your time frame, and I think that's the
it's a relative concept.
Every analyst who ever analysed. Every analyst who ever analysed everything is right. It's like a broken clock.
At some point.
It's right twice a day, right?
But that's the thing. That's why I'm saying transit lounges are not good examples, because if you've been sitting in a transit lounge since March 2020, you're still there.
Yeah. Well, it's it's going to be turbulent waters, isn't it? And I think that you've got your gold position on, which is great, and it's one of those, isn't it? That and anybody saying they're missing the boat, I agree with you. I think this has got a lot. This is just the start. This is just we've been looking for gold to bottom out. It seemed to bottom out when we got that taper. As soon as they said we are now tapering, as soon as we hit that in November, that seemed to bottom out then. Now we seem to be sort of on the first step, but it is just the first step. We'll be looking for at least three, depending on how high it goes. So, I would personally, I mean, what you were saying about the stops, and this is going to be the question. How do you now want to approach the market? If you believe it's going up, I do, you do. I'm sure Jeff does as well, and many other people do believe that gold and silver are going to go higher. How do you now approach it? Do you approach it with pullbacks, tight stops, or do you approach it on longer term timeframes? And that's down to the personal, your personality and
exactly.
how you feel about it.
See, I can now start just adding to my position.
Yeah.
I have a big pullback. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm coming into familiar territory, fingers crossed. Because this year wasn't. But if you look at the length of the consolidation that we've had, and do you know what? Maybe do you mind if I just share my screen? Because I've just got some levels on, and it just shows.
Go for it.
That'd be great.
It just shows.
John's still sharpening his pencil for the quiz, I know. So it'll be cool. Hans, are you an anti-vaxxer, mate?
Anti-vaxxer. Any anti-vaxxers? Do we have anti-vaxxers here?
Oh, I mean,
Oh,
you know what?
Hand is telling us not to take the vaccine. Too late, buddy.
Too late.
Oh, do you know?
I'm
Yeah,
ready for a booster.
hands. If I could have got away with it, I would have been with you, mate. But you can't do anything. You can't. They've got you by the short ones. That's the problem. It's just like I fought it as long as I could, but in the end, I was safer having it than not having it. So it's like, you know, you eventually you just have to kind of like weigh it up and go, okay, where are we at? And the powers that be always win in the end. So I gave up. I gave up the fight in the end.
Also, Ash, you got a little girl. You want to make sure.
Do you know what it was, I was never against the vaccine. Never. My thing was I didn't know enough about it, and I was locked down, so I felt relatively safe without it. So I thought it's like fine. But then the economy opens up, and you go, okay, now I'm safer with it than not with it. So at some point you've got to change your mind with the terrain, and the terrain changed. So I had to change what I did. You know, I was never against it because, you know, I spoke to Chloe, who's a veritable scientist, and she said, look, it's totally fine. You know, this is the way it all goes. So so I knew there wasn't a problem with it, but I didn't fancy putting something in my body unless I needed to, and I didn't feel like I needed to initially. But then now I do, because I've got to fly and do all sorts of things.
Well, once the numbers are there, it's irrefutable, isn't it? The numbers.
Oh, exactly, mate. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, and by the same token, it's COVID-19. They've been researching these coronaviruses and the structures and molecular structures. This is the 19th version of this that they've been researching.
But, you know, in saying that, power to your hands. If that's your belief, mate, then that's your belief. And you know, there's nobody that should really try and change your mind. And that's what freedom of speech is about. Anyway, let's get on to this instead. And let's talk about gold and making money.
Hope you see I'm putting my beautiful, and making you go dizzy with. Can you see my daily gold chart?
You bet.
Excellent. So as you can see, and I pointed these little areas out before, 1, 2, 3, 4. But what we've got here is this level of consolidation since 15th of June, all the way through. That is a huge area of consolidation. Imagine a spring. Yeah. Going like this for 4 months, 5 months. I can count. I can count. 6 to 11 is 5 months. It's just going around and around and around. That's why I think we're in for a fairly good move to the upside. Some might say, well, you should only take the top to the bottom and going, and this is the technical analysts who will say, oh, no, you should only really be measuring from the top to the lower end of the range and then just adding that up from here to there. And that should be your target. However, I don't believe that, not this time of the year. So we've got a few things happening, but, you know, 1862, we've waited 5 months for it to get over 1832, and we've just moved up to $30 in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So as you said, how to trade this? Look, we had this massive pullback, and I guess if it's a little more dramatic if we put it down on the 1 hourly. So we've had this pullback supported by the 20 EMA. Technical analysis, we have a downtrend, we have a push off the 20 EMA, we have got a very small low test bar, we've got a ring low, and then off we are to the races. We're going and we're going long. So here we are, we're just starting to get going. As you said, where do we get in? Where do we get out? If you're not too sure, drop it down to the hourly chart. I'm not a big, as you know, I'm not a big fan of going down there. I like to see the really strong levels that are respected, that are.
David's on the hourly chart, so he'll be interested with this.
Drop it down to an hourly chart if that's what if that suits you. But just be wary with gold. Gold has at the best times, a 50 pip spread, 40 pip spread, and do your stops accordingly.
All right? Do you know what, as well? That bar you're showing is the hourly bar, that big spike bar to the upside.
Oh, this one?
Yeah. No, not the green one. The green one. Massive volume. So when you look at the volume spike on that particular bar, that would suggest the low end of that bar should be a good hold.
It
So,
should be a good hold.
And this is the thing. When we decipher where we put stops, there are so many different things that you can do. I mean, you can look at the volume spikes and say, okay, well, that's where it came from. So there's going to be stops under that area, so they should hold. You can look at ATR, to see where that might be. I think that might be all over the place right now. Or you can look at
ATR would not be my preference. Horizontal levels would definitely be my preference.
Sure thing.
And you can see, we've discussed EMAs, particularly a 20 and a 50 on. I use those because they're bog standard. They're respected internationally. I don't try and do a 21. I don't do an 8. I don't do a 27. I don't do any of these odd numbers. I do 20, 50, 100 EMAs and a 200 simple moving average because they are the standard things that are used globally. And that's why I use them, so that I can understand my trade management better, so that when it gets to that level and I see it going up, blop, 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 and it doesn't close over that particular, I know exactly why. So it helps me to understand trade management. That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
You might have your own. There's a difference between developing your own strategy and your own technique. And then there's a difference for understanding how everybody else does it and understanding what's spurring. Because institutional traders are generally lazy. They're just given a lot of money and told to go long or they go short. They don't do any of the fancy stuff. They don't do any of the other bits and pieces. They're there to take big positions on the market and go for it.
Yeah.
That's what they'll do. They're not going to stress themselves out. They're going to still get their huge bonuses. They're still going to get the big salaries. They're not going to get themselves fussed with getting down on an hourly chart. Let me tell you that, for a lot of money. Know that. I've been on the HSBC trading floor, and they're very relaxed. Very relaxed. So
We're very relaxed.
They don't see the need to stress themselves out when they've got.
No, I don't need to see this. I don't see the point in that myself. I've got to be honest. What's wrong with the wine at 5? Nothing.
I like
absolutely
detail.
Nothing.
Yeah, I like detail. I like things to go the right way. But these guys, the big traders, they're not in and out of all the trades. And to
listen.
honest, I don't like feeding.
Are you hanging around for the quiz?
Oh, it's Thursday night.
It's Thursday night. I'm not sure John's still here. He might have taken off. And I'm sure he is. He's just revving up. David, I've got to say, pound yen long. You're a braver man than I am, gunged it in, I've got to say.
Good one, John. He's chilling.
Is he? I can't see. Can't see the.
Are we going for it? Let's bring John in, because it's getting a bit late, isn't it?
I was too chilled.
Too chilled. Come on in, John. Give us our weekly brain teasers.
I was just just listening to the gurus. I was feeling quite pleased with myself because I took my little Nasdaq trade last night and got out.
Well done, mate.
Good start.
And that was enough for me, and it's a bank
holiday
today, so I'm going nowhere near it.
But the Nasdaq can be a white knuckle ride. There's no two ways about it. But I don't know. I think that is going to play a part. We're talking about gold and silver. The Nasdaq is going to be a big mover as well in the next 3 months.
Hands, to answer your question, yes. Ash trades indices. So does George on Mondays. So if you want to have a good view of the indice traders, Monday is probably your best day, because we're going into Quizland right now. This is the most important segment of the week.
Yeah, and to be honest, mate, with the US holiday, the indice is going to be very quiet today. So to trade on a day like today, you could actually get very frustrated. I don't see them going too far.
I've already made my deal. I've got my one trade on. That's it. It's a currency trade. It's not going to get hammered. That's done. And I'm going to be doing what Ainsley was just doing there.
Yeah, very wise.
But at the minute, it's just a glass of water.
Mine's
It's
not.
Thursday night, but it's been a very long week, let me tell you.
All right, so celebrating the gold move.
I know. I took my dog to the
First
vet
question.
today for inoculations, and it has not boded well.
Oh, not rockets.
Musk and Bezos.
Not
Yeah,
building
okay,
rockets.
Big Jeff is challenging Elon, building what, but not rockets this time.
Okay, direct my answer to everyone.
Yes, I can't say, but yeah.
Nice answer, Jeff.
Sorry, it's all over the place. Okay, electric vehicles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, but what? Amazon are coming into the market, are they?
These joined with Ford in backing this company, Rivan, to make these, even though a bit like Elon's electric car company and a bit of debt to start with.
Now, on the back side of that, guys, let's try and relate this to trading. How would you take advantage of that as
Buy
a
copper.
trader? Buy copper. There you go.
Buy copper. Well, copper's
Anything
down
else?
at the moment, but
Well, they need silver, don't they?
The copper's starting to come back up again. It's bottomed out. It's touched the 200 simple moving average, but with all these EVs, they all need batteries. And guess what? Copper, nickel, all the rest of it. Jeff, question for you.
Hello.
And
Yep.
I'll just hijack John's quiz. Where is the largest nickel mine in the Southern Hemisphere?
You're going to say in what's the name of the bloody place? It's in Tasmania.
No, it's not.
Oh, it is. Everything big is in Tasmania.
I'll grant you some really good wines, and your food is phenomenal. I'll give you
Tassie
that.
scallops are pretty good.
They're good.
Lobster's great.
Crayfish, yeah, lobsters.
Mm.
I used crayfish because New Caledonia, largest nickel mine in the Southern Hemisphere.
Is that right?
True story.
They must have fudged it because I'm trying to think of the bloody
No,
place.
well, research French wine, French food,
Yep.
New Caledonia. Anyway, sorry,
Cool.
John.
No, I didn't know that.
There you go. I didn't either until I went there and they said, "Oh, this is the largest nickel mine." I went, "What?"
Lithium, that's the other one, isn't it? Lithium?
Yeah, lithium, anything solar, carbon emissions. Well, we all know Tesla's made money and and one of the biggest things that they sold was carbon emission credits and Bitcoin.
And Ash, you remember this? I think it was about 18 months ago. I said to this forum, actually, there's a lithium producing company in Western Australia who came up with this wonderful idea of laying out roads.
Yes.
With embedded in with lithium, and they were trading at 40 cents.
Yes.
$52 at the moment.
You're joking.
Yes, I am.
Oh.
I have no idea what they're trading at.
Oh, okay.
But I'll look it up. I can't remember their name actually.
Yeah. Go on then, John. Let's get. John, I've got a plane to catch, so.
Okay, cool. All right.
Can we not talk between all these questions?
All right. That was question one, right?
Space.
Yeah, only question one.
Looking at them. But what do you think these acronyms stand for? They're not with crypto. For once, I thought with crypto, we'll move away from it. These are acronyms. Some we have to be aware of. Hopefully one of them Lewis might have been aware of actually, but it didn't happen to him, so he was okay. One might be a bit tricky, but
it's a lot of typing here, John.
There is.
Sorry. I thought, do I go for some crypto stuff? I thought, no. Everybody's probably had it
I mean, you
up
could
to
have
here,
just
but-
had one.
You-
Hey, John, you'll be called me soon. They'll start calling you Ainsley Junior because I go into too much detail all the time.
I thought, shall I go for it? Okay, yeah. Well, there you go. Can anybody get any there? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul.
There's one. Paul has got in. Paul is in.
Oh, okay. Can we just do one each?
Paul's got one. Yeah. Shukri definitely know the top one because they're the people that are probably going to deal a bit of a
The
Fed.
SEC's after
Yes.
Shukri.
Oh, Jeff, pretty close.
No, it's really interesting actually, John, because I know all about the SEC. But...
Jeff, you're so good with that bottom one. Jeff's
Yeah.
it's pretty close. Man,
Oh, wow.
Okay, there we are. Securities and Exchange Commission. They're on the hunt for all things crypto, along with other stuff. Save our souls.
Special Air Service. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Special Air Service. I'm
Did you
sorry.
not know that?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't know that either.
It was.
10.
Oh, I even got the S for an F.
Yeah.
I fair
Get up.
yeah.
it up. SAF. I
Yes.
did that.
Okay. Again, there's a bit of a theme going through here, so you might be getting us. Which African country is making a move? It's in green there with its own Go Green revolution. Actually, it's quite poignant for this country as well, really. But there is a theme going through. Absolutely no idea. No.
Okay.
It's close. It's one. Yeah, it's one.
One click to the right.
Yeah.
Bit of a civil war going on over there, by all accounts. I think it's going to do Cardano too much good.
No, but
I don't know.
I lived in Tanzania up in the north. What's a polite way of putting it? There's always something going on.
Yeah.
Rwanda.
Oh, Rwanda. Okay.
Rwanda.
Oh, it was only 2 letters out.
Yeah, 2 letters out. Interesting thing for me is this is electric bikes, and the company is set up there.
I just
the
thought it was
government's helping
Nigeria
out.
because everything's a scam there.
Yeah, I thought it was, along with sort of obviously big boys at the top playing with electric cars and Bitcoin, but it was quite cool that they're doing this. And even in KL now, they've got their little electric scooters are replacing. You can see them all over the place. So it's just it's a quick one because people got to catch planes. Luckily, you're not catching a plane in this place. Which country has just had its
Goodness.
snowfall in 116 years? Talk about getting hit and hit.
Tell you
and
what, John,
hit
I don't know
again.
where you found these questions this week. I haven't heard any of these stories.
Yeah, I was going to say
I'm a geek.
I read the papers
Right,
every
okay.
day.
I am a geek, and I'll do it really quickly. When I lived in London, in my military job, in the morning, I read all the broadsheets. It was way before all of you. When I was I just read them all. I didn't read any of the comic newspapers. I read all the broadsheets, and it's just stayed with me into internet land. I just cruise around for an hour or so to get up to date with it. Oh, no. Bang.
China. Goodness me.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a story we should know, right? I mean,
God almighty. I mean, I have been at Disneyland. I've been in Disneyland, Hong Kong Disneyland, and it was close to snowing. I went to the shop to get some gloves, and all they could offer me was Minnie Mouse white gloves. But I said no, thank you very much. Doesn't go with the cashmere. But it can get cold. That is really cold, though.
yeah, well, that's probably why they've decided to do a deal with America about climate change. If they get in there,
Hey,
they're like, oh,
Yeah, and
maybe it's a
shale
bit more
oil, do you
serious.
think? Hello.
Ainsley or Gary, what season is it here in 19 days?
Tasmania.
Summer. It's summer.
Summer, right. Snowing to
Summer.
400 metres here on Saturday.
Really?
Hmm.
Yeah, but you're in Tasmania.
Yay! Thank God for that.
And look, we've had a little bit of a snap, but I mean, Sydney to Hobart, and people get off the boat and they're looking for fur-lined coats. What are you talking about? So
No, they're not.
Sydney to
They're
Hobart
looking.
is a blue ocean race, everybody, that goes from Sydney to Hobart. It should take about 4 days. Now they're doing it in almost 24 to 36 hours.
Yeah, because the wine's getting better. The oysters are fantastic. The lobster's awesome. And
Yep.
the people are amazing. That's why it's just getting faster. They're putting motors
It's
in
just
the
getting
boats.
faster. Look, Tasmania is beautiful. I haven't been there yet because I've got to come down, don't I, Jeff?
Oh, I know.
When you're
this
ready,
one.
eh?
I think
Come
it's
down.
4, but it might be 3.
It's the paces. The paces are moving. This is all to do with contracts. I do contracts in some of my music teaching with some of my students. Make sure you get your contracts right, and because you need your compensation packages if it all goes wrong. Yeah, this is to do with it. Why would you invest? Lewis has got it.
Is it 5? Is it?
Hey,
Yeah.
look 2 above Lewis.
Yeah, those are the 5 that have gone so far, and these are the ones that have gone in the European, the
Wow.
German and the other leagues.
You see number 4 there, Daniel
Two more
Fark.
coming.
You see that Daniel Fark?
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Fark.
You're not
So,
allowed to swear on YouTube.
Well, do you know, this is Gary Lineker did a beautiful. He always does a funny close at the end of match of the day, and he said, "Liverpool win again, Man United lose, and Fark's off," which I thought was cool. I know.
You got away with it.
Is it far K? Do you think?
Well, not if you want the joke.
Far K.
He would probably want to be called Fark, but in the UK we call him Fark.
Tajay, but I'm sure
Yeah,
when he loses,
it's like
he's
Nigel
not far
Farage
K.
or Nigel Farage, isn't it?
Yeah,
Nuno was off as well, so we got Conte, which is great. Steve Bruce being replaced by the guy from Bournemouth, Eddie
But
Howe.
there must be a lot of spare cash floating around for compensation packages.
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, they don't seem to care, do they? You know, the contracts just aren't worth the paper they're written on because it doesn't seem
Like
to
me.
matter.
I don't care.
You don't care, do you?
Do they have salary caps?
You don't-
Do you have salary caps?
No. Well, they
it's
had
not.
this financial fair play coming in, but there's a way that they can fudge it through
Players, yes.
advertising and all this sort
Financial
of thing.
fair play with players, yes. Managers, no. Managers could be fired and got rid of and hired and poached all the way through.
Okay.
Yeah.
The best part of their contracts, as I pointed out to my friend, isn't their salary, it's how much compensation they get if they get fired.
Yeah.
Which is why it's going to cost a fortune to get rid of the guy at Man United. Okay, let's say we're linking in with cash at the minute. Which politicians in the UK may have pushed the second job thing a bit too far?
What was his name?
This is outstanding. I'm sorry. It's a real. I had too much time on my hands this afternoon. I'm sorry. Normally I do them quickly. I had too much out. I thought, what? Yeah.
Good one, Lewis. What do you mean, Lord?
Can I call a friend? Sorry.
You don't have lords in America, Ash. That's reserved for your.
It's the UK.
You have.
Yeah, that's that. I effed up
UK.
before with the S, and now I'm K'ing up with the U.
Are
with the
you,
S.
are you
My
becoming
God.
just?
Oh, Jeffrey Cox.
Yeah, you put Jeffrey Cox. Apparently,
I've had a big week, eh?
100,000 outside Parliament. Because he's supposed to be in Parliament.
All sorts of trouble.
I knew that. If I knew it was the UK, I would have got him.
The only reason that's in there, I was explaining to a friend of mine, we were talking about shady dealings in governments around the world. I said, look, don't hold up the UK as some bastion of democracy, because we're all living in the same glass house. It's just that they're better at doing it. This guy is supposed to be Parliament MP, 900,000.
Well, you know,
nice tweet of the day, and it probably won't have affected his bottom line or how much wine he can drink or anything. He tweeted and moved his own wealth down, sort of, and that of his employer's company, well, for a while. But he seems to enjoy doing it. Yes, Ash.
Oh, no. Was it Elon's brother? Elon's brother who sold $100 million worth of shares the day before Elon.
Just before this. Is that, I'm not sure what that is. Is that a bit of insider trading?
You think?
Allegedly?
I think it got, yeah. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
But Elon,
isn't it lovely to be in a position where you can treat 5 billion as a game? Because it's put it out on Twitter and say, "Shall I do this?" So, yeah, do it. All right, brilliant. Let's do it. What a lovely position to be in.
Whether that was the
Ash, just a couple more years, honey. Just a couple more years. We'll be there. Like a gambler.
Well,
I know this. It is on this show, but it's not.
Apparently. Would you know? I don't know. Would you know this?
Which one is
I was
it?
surprised actually. Well, no, my kids, the kids that I teach know it, so I have to look. I have to play it for them.
It's not Stairway to Heaven.
Happy birthday! It's happy birthday. Now, I know that for.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. You haven't been to.
Is that right? That's astounding.
It's a small world after all. And the other thing I should have got.
That's astounding.
No planet, no profit. There you go.
I actually think the answer is happy birthday.
Only because you put it.
No.
I saw this documentary all about the girl that came up with the song, and EMI or one of those tried to steal the rights to it, but they made it up in 1890 or something. It started out as "Good Morning to You," and then they changed it into "Happy Birthday."
Yeah,
you don't have to put your source, John. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's one of the first songs I teach to the kids.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. So
you're right. That it's on loop at Disneyland parks. It's
there you go.
Let me tell you, when you're standing in that queue, when you've got kids, and then you get on the boat ride, you want to stab somebody at the end of it. It's.
Is that the near queue?
Sorry.
Is that the near queue?
Yeah, we went through the VIP line, and I still didn't go.
Oh, that's the far queue then.
It was the short queue. But yeah, you listen to that going full tilt, and then you're on that boat and you're in that enclosed area, and it's geez, yeah. Never mind.
Thank you, John.
I love it.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
I am
John.
just. I've got to go to Spain. I've got to run to Spain and run back again. I'm flying in a few hours, and I'll be back. I'll be back Saturday.
Oh, fabulous! You're on a plane. Those things have got they've got wings, and you sit on them apparently. And
I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. I'm not going for holiday, Lewis. No, unfortunately not. Well, yeah, no, unfortunately not. No, I'm going to sign some documentation, and then I'm going to come back again. So I don't want to go.
While you're there.
I haven't enjoyed the process at all. I mean, because do you know what? They wouldn't double vax me when I'm in this town on the weekend because it's not been long enough. Supposedly, the security guard wouldn't let me in. So I've had to go through all this PCR stuff instead, and it's just been hyper stressful. So I got I've come back with all the right paperwork, but I'm still worried they won't let me on the plane. So I might be texting you tomorrow. I'm around. Anybody's doing anything?
Yeah. Have they?
All right, we're out of here.
Couriers? What's wrong with the courier? Bring it to the mountain.
I've got to go to I've got to be at the police station in person.
That just sounds like another conversation we probably shouldn't be having online. But
it's nothing. It's nothing dodgy. It's I've got a place in Spain and I'm trying to sell it, but I've lost my NIE number, which I had 10 years ago. So I've got to get a new card issued, and I've got to go there in person. So
I know where it is. It's in the back page of your passport.
Yeah, been
Stuck
there,
in
done
Bali.
that.
Probably is.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Let's wrap then, and have a great weekend to one and all. We'll see you all Sunday. Thank you, John,
See you
as
guys.
always. Thank you, Angel, for looking after us this week. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Angel.
A. See you next week, guys.
All right. Bye all.
Hey,
Stay trading.
thanks for being our trading buddies. Have a great week.